Michael Hernandez, MLH Media Uncensored, episode 6, and I'm so excited to finally get back on the platform and get to speak to all of you. So sorry about last week and not being able to drop an episode. Really, just it's kind of been a plethora of things. So at first, we were just having issues with our Wi-Fi over here at the home I was staying at, so was not able to. We were having some issues in terms of like I could not stream for whatever reason. Like I could not make a video on because I use Riverside as my service, could not use it. And I could only really do videos when I was at school and when I would schedule an appointment for a studio, but I can only use an hour time. So it kind of makes things a little difficult in terms of scheduling things out with guys because I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of these fighters, they got busy lives, they got jobs, they got things to do outside of this. So in terms of an interview, I understand why it may not be the biggest of priority to them. So yeah, sometimes it gets a little 20-minute delay, 30-minute delay, but then that eats up into the time of me using that said studio. So it's just always easier when I do the in-home video interviews to go ahead and do them actually from my home. So it just was making a little bit of a difficult process, but was able to finally get that figured out. But once that happened on Wednesday, I actually had a visit to the ER. I had to get a staple in my head, which is an interesting experience. I would say it's not the worst pain that I've ever felt. I would definitely say that it's not like in the plethora of 10, a 1 through 10, I would say it's like a 2 or a 3. So if you guys are ever worried about getting the staple, just so you know, does not hurt, but still did have to go to the ER. Had just kind of, I don't know what it was. They say I have a thing called a vasovagal syncope, which is a medical condition, I believe. And they kind of just said it just happens with people that are active and a little bit young. Heartbeat kind of drops up and down. But yeah, I just was at work and felt my head go lightheaded, and then next thing I know, I'm on the floor of the movie theater, and I had collapsed, and I had was started bleeding from my head. So it was definitely an experience. Had never gone to the ER before. Had never really gone to the hospital. I've always been a relatively pretty healthy person, and I've been having some kind of other health issues. Had like a staph infection, as you guys know. I trained, so I had a staph infection. That was kind of a pain in the ass as well. Had to deal with that. So it's just been a plethora of things I've just been kind of adding up onto my plate and kind of all added up to where eventually had to go into an emergency room. And now I'm glad that I'm healthy and, finally getting back to things. Actually going to go to the doctors a little bit later today while this episode is going live. So very, very excited to kind of just finally have kind of a fresher bill of health, especially now going into 2025. And with all these fights going in, especially have a fight literally tomorrow on November 15th as I'm recording this video. So it's just always best to have myself in kind of the best shape possible. But hope you guys are enjoying the Michael mustache, the MLH Media mustache. I got this going for No Shave November, obviously. I was shaving my face, and then I realized I have to keep at least one piece of facial hair. So mustache it was. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really liking it. I feel like I look like Waluigi, the supervillain from the Super Mario games. But let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I want to see the love for the mustache. I want to see if you guys are rocking with it. You guys like the little the facial hair on the chin. What are you guys rocking with? I want to see what they got to say about everything. But I mean, a lot has kind of gone down since we all last got to speak. Obviously, they had the UFC card over there at the Apex, UFC Apex 100. I don't feel like there was a whole lot to talk about from that event. We did see Rainier de Ritter get a submission win over Gerald Meerschaert in the third round. I mean, he kind of looked dominant throughout that whole performance. It didn't seem like that was a fight that I was like, oh my gosh, Rainier de Ritter. Maybe in the first round, there was a little bit of like, oh man, Gerald Meerschaert may have pulled this out. And I was thinking he had the possibility of actually winning that fight in general. But I mean, as much as people want to bag on one championship talent, at the end of the day, like he still was a champion in that promotion. I think he's still going to be able to take out a little bit of the lower level. And I'm not saying that Gerald Meerschaert is a good fighter. Obviously UFC been in the UFC for quite some time. I believe he holds the record for most submission wins in the 185 division. But still, it's just at some point you have to look at a talent kind of pool. And I feel like Rainier de Ritter, as it's kind of like a Driscus Duplessis. I feel like that's like a perfect comparison level in terms of Rainier de Ritter. It's like he may not do everything like perfect, but he does things just well enough to win fights. And that's sometimes all you really need. And so congratulations to obviously Renier de Ritter for getting that win, but also Carlos Prates getting a big knockout victory over there against Neil Magny. I mean, that's a guy that's really, really tough to put away, as we've seen in years past. I mean, a lot of guys have tried to put him away. Even Ian Gary had him like basically on the heels, excuse me, but it just seems like Carlos Prates was able to find that special spot kind of right near the ear and just put him out. And man, I really, really felt for Neil Magny at the end of that one because, kind of I feel like everybody was sort of rooting against him going into this one, especially since Prates is such a hot prospect. But Prates really did put on a great performance. He looked really, really good out there. Didn't really have any moments of that. I mean, it was a first round KO, but just any moment in that first round, it did not look like it was out of his control whatsoever. So congratulations, Carlos Prates. Congratulations to Renier de Ritter. Not a whole lot to take away really from that UFC Apex card over there last week, but semi kind of inflecting pay-per-view coming up here. I mean, we'll finally probably see the ending of the hold of the heavyweight division by Mr. John Jones. I have a lot to kind of say about that whole topic. I mean, you know what? I feel like just going and hopping into it. I feel it is absolutely crazy in 2024, like that we are changing the rules of an event because of the athletes on it. Like, I feel like that just doesn't make any sense. Like, that would be like if two baseball teams that were more talented than others decided to use the juiced baseballs from like 2020 because, oh, well, it's going to score more runs. I don't think people would look at that logically. I don't think people would be like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Like, and people, I feel like, kind of batting an eye to this whole the new gloves being tossed out and just kind of thrown away, because I feel like that just gives UFC this confidence of not of, oh, we can do whatever we want, because I mean at the end of the day they really can do whatever they want, and they can inflict on the fighters whatever they may do. I mean, we've seen with the Venom kits, we've seen with the sponsors, we've seen them do this before in the past and other kind of varieties. But to say that they're going to like now kind of put these old gloves back into fruition because it's a lot of veterans on the card, you just know it's a load of horse shit. Like, I mean, I just feel like it's such a load of BS, in all honesty. And I get there is a lot of veterans on this card. They do have that point. I mean, Damon Jackson's on the card. You have Jim Miller. You have, obviously, John Jones. Stipe Miocic has not fought in the new gloves. So, I mean, I guess I get it. But it's just like, do you really need to change your whole dynamic for one event? And this is not the first time the UFC has done this for John Jones. Like, let's just make that abundantly clear. Like, this is not the first time. Originally, UFC, I believe it was 202, supposed to be over there in Las Vegas, but because of the positive steroid test from John Jones, I believe it was a picogram of whatever illegal substance that he was taking at the time, Las Vegas, Nevada, NSAC was like, we are not allowing this. We are not going to allow you to go ahead and perform and get the chance at possibly hurting another athlete when you are underneath the use of performance-enhancing substances. And with that, the UFC said, all right, cool. Well, we'll just move this event to Anaheim. And Daniel Cormier proceeded to get KO'd by John Jones, which the fight later turned out to be overturned. And it just... I don't know. Like, it just feels like the UFC has done this before for John. I mean, like, the only time that the UFC has ever canceled an event has been because of guess who, John Jones. In terms of a pay-per-view, at least, it just feels like this has been a constant pattern with the UFC, just bailing out John Jones. And it's like, I know he has everyone saying, oh, the duck thing, and honestly, I really don't. I see Tom's. I don't see Tom's. I see John signed in that. I see John where he says that the Tom Aspinall win doesn't bring him a lot of greener pastures, because he is right in terms of, I mean, look at what the Cyril Gane win has done for him now. Everybody was looking at Cyril Gane as that killer. He's the only guy to give Francis great competition within 5. Oh, he went to a split decision, arguably won against Francis. He was the guy that was left at heavyweight to kind of be that guy. And people are saying like Sergey Pavlovich or him, and I think Cyril Gane beats Sergey Pavlovich. Now that we've seen Sergey kind of go the full 3 rounds with other guys, I think that Cyril Gane beats Sergey, And I think arguably Cyril Gane's still probably, if not in that top 3 in that division, he's definitely in that top 5. And it just, I know he's been inactive, but people have taken away that kind of Cyril Gane win from Jones and kind of said, oh, well, he made it look really easy, so on and so forth. And if they're going to say that about Cyril Gane, I mean, what are they going to say about Tom Aspinall? And I love Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall is a great prospect. But Tom Aspinall has not gotten out of the first round. Like, he has not gotten out of the first round, guys. Like, that is something that I feel like needs to raise a red flag. And it's not because he's not a... Like, Alex Pereira has only had one, I believe, or two fights go the distance in the UFC, which was against Jan Blachowicz, and then when he went and took on Israel Adesanya that first time. And even then, I believe went to the 4th or 5th round, and he was able to get that TKO. But it's just, it feels like the UFC and John Jones, it's just kind of like a cahoot thing of like, all right, how can we make this as comfortable for you as possible? And I don't feel like they have done that for every other athlete. That is kind of where my main concern lies. Because if you're going to do that for John Jones, I get it. He has done a lot for the company. He's brought a lot of eyes, but he's also done a lot of negative on the company. And I feel like that doesn't get looked at enough sometimes. And it just kind of sends a message to the rest of the guys, I feel, on the roster, the rest of the women on the roster, that doesn't matter how you act as a person, as long as you bring this company money, as long as you're feeding us, it's all good. We're all okay. And I think it just can kind of serve a little bit of a negative message. So, and then, I mean, are we not going to also talk about the fact that 12-6 elbows are now being allowed, which I'm very much happy about, but it just seems like, and I'm like, guys, let me reiterate this. I am not against the UFC. Like, I watch the UFC every Saturday for a reason, but the fact that 12-6 elbows are now being allowed, old gloves are now being allowed in this fight with John Jones, where he's possibly said this is his last fight. I mean, come on. Like, are people not going to look at this in a couple of years and kind of cite this against him with the whole GOAT argument? You know, saying like, look at all the fights that kind of have had some kind of questionable things happen around it. I don't know. I just think it's a point of discussion that I think we'll be kind of talking about in some years' time. But big card, obviously, this weekend over there in New York, Madison Square Garden. But also another big card happening over here in California. A1 Combat 25 going down over there at the Hard Rock in Wheatland, California. Really, really excited to be talking to the guys all afterwards, and really looking forward to seeing all your guys' love and support in the comments, and, you know, being able to see you guys over there in person, because there is actually a good amount of people that watch this program that go to those A1 Combat bouts. So I really appreciate your support, whether it be in person, whether it be on the YouTube comments, whether it be on the Instagram comments. Really want to say I appreciate you all. But let's just go into some kind of fights that I'm really looking forward to in terms of UFC 309 and A1 Combat 25. Let's go into it. Alrighty, y'all. So as we already spoke about it, John Jones, Stipe Miocic. I mean, I think you guys know who I'm going with this one. Obviously going to be going John Jones. Thinks he gets it done via submission. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. I mean, am I super excited for this fight? I would have to argue I'm not, in all honesty. I don't think that the UFC should have done this in terms of matchmaking. I think it's just kind of like, throw these two guys together. You know, you're going to get fireworks. And, as a fan, happy to go and be watching this. But in terms of what could be future inflected, I don't think it really does much for Charles Oliveira to get a win over Michael Chandler, a guy that's been on the couch for 3 years. And I don't think Michael Chandler really would warrant a title shot if he were to get that win over Charles Oliveira. But then again, the UFC has its own plans. So maybe if Charles Oliveira does get finished, kind of does follow the script of that first fight of what Michael Chandler thinks he can do to the Bronx, then maybe we will be seeing Mr. Iron Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev, come 2025 after he takes on Arman Tsarukyan. Or who knows, maybe we'll be seeing Arman Tsarukyan and Michael Chandler. But on I go, I think I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira in that one. Bo Nickel, Paul Craig. I mean, I would... Like, this fight, it's just like, well, why was this made? I mean, like, look at the betting odds on this. You got like 1,000 for Bo Nickel, like a huge favorite. Man, I really just like, Paul Craig is one of those guys you never want to count out. I know he's had a little bit of a rough streak of things, lost Kyle Braujo, Brendan Allen, but he's just one of those guys you don't want to count out on the ground, especially. I mean, he's the only guy to be able to submit Jamal Hill, and I mean Jamal Hill's obviously had a title run now, so I really just like with this one. It's like I don't want to pick Bo Nickel just for the fact that I have a feeling Paul Craig may just pull this one out. So it's just like I if you're a betting fan and you really like Bo, then I would say just throw the money on him, help season the parlay a little bit. Throw that salt and pepper in there. You always got to throw a couple of guys in the parlay that are a little bit of that high betting odds that okay, maybe they're going to go ahead and secure that, but would not doubt it. And I mean, if you're just having a little fun parlay, want to sprinkle Paul Craig in there by sub, I wouldn't hate you for it, because I mean, at the moment, 91% of people are on at least Tapology are thinking that Bo Nickel is going to like dominate Paul Craig. And I mean, I don't blame him, because I think that Bo Nickel, I think it's going to come down to the striking, because at the end of the day, I think Bo Nickel's wrestling and Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu in terms of ground game kind of equate each other. I don't think that they're going to try and figure each other out in that realm. I think it definitely will be figured out on the feet. Bo Nickel has not looked horrendous on the feet. He's looked all right. He's looked like a guy that's had about 6 professional fights. So I would say that I would take Bo, which is, it's crazy, but I mean, I would say still taking Bo Nickel in this one. Karine Silva, this is versus Vivian Rougeau. Vivi versus the Killer. I mean, I think a lot of people are going with Karine Silva on this one. She's looked really, really good in her last performances. I mean, got the win against Delipsky, got the win against Moros. It's kind of been a little bit of a not the best streak for Mrs. Vivi on Rougeau. She's obviously had that loss to the champ Grasso not too long ago, about 2 years ago now, but it just seems that she just really has had a tough time kind of figuring out where she's at in this kind of UFC race, and like where exactly, she's got the win over Maya, but Maya was kind of on her way out. I believe that may have been Maya's last fight in the UFC, actually. So I mean, I think this is kind of a fight for Karine Silva to build herself off of. So I think Silva, there you go by the odds. I mean, I think this is kind of going to be, it's going to be a classic women MMA's bout. You never really know. But I would say that this one goes the distance and Karine Silva gets it done. Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. I think a lot of people got Rufy in this one, and arguably, I don't doubt them. I mean, I don't doubt why they would pick him. James Lontop just has not looked good in the UFC so far. Had that loss to Chris Padilla, and then recently took a split decision loss to Vyacheslav Borishev, Slavaklas over there in the Apex. I mean, Rufy has looked really, really good. One Shot is like the perfect nickname for this guy. He's an absolute killer on the feet. I really, really think that he's going to be able to get this one done. I mean, if you are looking for a parlay to go ahead and sprinkle on this one, and you're just curious, you're like, maybe some guys that, odds are a little, I would say Mauricio Rufy by KO or TKO in the first or second round. I think he gets this one done. And I think he finishes James Lontop over there inside of Madison Square Garden. Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee. This is kind of my I'm surprised that Jonathan Martinez is an underdog in this one. I know he's lost to Jose Aldo, but come on. Marcus McGee has not fought. And this is not an insult to Marcus McGee, because he has looked good in the competition he has had, but he has not fought the level of competition that Jonathan Martinez has fought. Like, Jonathan Martinez has fought some of the better in terms of bantamweights in the UFC. I mean, he's fought Adrian Yanez, he's fought Said Nurmagomedov, Cub Swanson, Vince Morales. Like, I know Vince Morales maybe not the most elite of those names, but the last 4 guys I just mentioned on that list were all top 15 at some point in their career, or were on that kind of looking into the top 15. If you look at the guys that Marcus McGee has fought, I genuinely would not be able to name. The only guy I know from this list is Gaston Bolanos. That's other than that, I do not, and Luciano Ramos. Other than that, I do not know any of those guys that Marcus McGee has fought. And that's not saying that I've been watching the UFC for some time now, and I feel like for me not to know those names right off the top of my head, and me having to probably do a couple of Google searches to think of the face of that guy, then I just don't know how they could be having Marcus McGee up on the cards by this much in terms of the odd makers. And I'm just really curious why they see this fight going this way. I know that he's a little bit bigger in terms of like actual size. And I know it doesn't say it in here, but Marcus McGee is a sizey fellow. He's definitely a pretty strong bantamweight for his size. And Jonathan Martinez is a little bit of a kind of scrawnier guy. He's going to get you with the striking, but definitely very strong for 135 too. I mean, he was doing pretty well against Aldo in terms of not just letting him get dominated. Went to a decision with Jose Aldo. Like, that's not I feel like that's just not something to undermine here. So give me Jonathan Martinez. I think that if you're betting and you want to go ahead and make a little bit of chunk of change and he's still an underdog, you take Jonathan Martinez. Chris Weidman, Eric Anders. I don't think anybody really cares about this fight at all. Like, and I don't even know how this fight came about. I mean, it's crazy that these two guys are still fighting in 2024. Chris Weidman didn't look terrible in his last performance. To be fair, besides from the eye pokes, which were a real big like red flag. He just didn't look like absolutely terrible against Bruno Silva. But man, this is a tough one. I'd say Chris Weidman, just because you're in New York. He's going to be fighting in front of a home crowd. Possibly could be one of his last fights if he doesn't feel the most sharp in there and he goes to a decision. I could definitely see Chris Weidman just saying, hey, man, end it out on a good note. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the career he's had a lot of ups and downs, been champion at one point, had the leg break against Uriah Hall. He's kind of gone through it in terms of MMA careers and kind of being one of those guys that's been a story and kind of an inspiration for some. So, yeah, I gotta go with my guy Weidman over here, man. Going a little bit more down the card, Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson, Roberto Romero. This is a new matchup versus David Onama. Roberto Romero, not a bad prospect, man. I definitely would not hesitate to sprinkle a little bit of money on this one. David Onama has looked really good in his last couple of competitions. Got the win against JSP and then got a KO over Gabriel Santos. But Roberto Romero, not a bad guy, not a bad prospect, not bad on the feet at all. Trains over there out of Team Oyama. Has sparked a lot of MMA talent in the past. So possibly could see this one going the distance, honestly, and Romero getting it done. But Onama does have that finishing power and has a lot of kind of hype going into this one. So I it depends on where you're at in the parlay making business. If you're going for the safe decisions, and you're really just kind of looking to make your money back, then I would say sprinkle David Onama. But Roberto Romero does not have his odds here because he was just put into this fight as of this week. But I believe if you do end up finding him on some odd makers cards, I would not be hesitant to sprinkle a little bit of money on that one. Marcin Tybura versus Jonathan Denise, Mickey Gall versus Ramis Brahimaj, Oban Elliott versus Benson Hafez. I feel like this fight should be way more high up on the card than what it is. Oban Elliott was the underdog a couple days ago, now is the slight favorite against Basil Hafez, who had a really good fight against Jack Magdalena. I do not know why I said James, and then got the win over Mickey Gall, who's also going to be on this card as mentioned previously. I would say Oban Elliott. I really like Oban. I got to watch him live over there at UFC 298. He looked really, really good. I would say give me Oban Elliott in this one. I think he gets it done via unanimous decision against Basil Hafez. I don't think he finishes Basil. Basil's he looked really, really sturdy, not only in that golf fight. He was taking some shots in that golf fight, but also he looked really, really good in that JDM fight. He stood a good, tough test to JDM. So give me Oban Elliott in this one over Basil Hafez. Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora to go ahead and kick it all off over to there on Saturday. I would have to be put up on a pedestal if I didn't pick Veronica Hardy. And Mora definitely does have a really good chance of kind of breaking that underdog curse over there in Madison Square Garden and breaking a win off against the originally Venezuelan, but over there in Britain now, Veronica Hardy. So man, I don't know. This one's kind of I know that Eduardo Mora has only the one loss on her record, but Veronica Hardy has looked really, really good in her competition in the UFC, and Mora has had a little bit of as I know she has her wins, but also has had her kind of drawback, especially in that last competition. So just kind of a pick 'em at this point. I would say I would go with Veronica Hardy, especially because it's like I was trying to see if it was a split or a unanimous decision. Like Denise Gomes fight, I do remember watching that one. It just wasn't anything to write home about. Veronica Hardy has looked like arguably a lot more improved. I'm gonna take Veronica Hardy in this one. It just seems every single time I also do pick against Veronica Hardy, and I think that her winning streak is gonna end. She just continues to add to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop on the Veronica Hardy train for this one. But wouldn't be surprised if Mora is able to go ahead and find the victory in that contest. But we go over to A1 Combat 25, man. Got a big card over there that I will be talking to all the fighters afterwards. Kevin Felipe versus Nick Maximov. Both these gentlemen very close to that UFC level. 10-7 for Kevin Felipe, but the majority of his wins have all came by KO and by finish. Jason Butcher, Aaron Tavares, Tony Charles by rear naked choke, but I mean, knocked him out basically with a spinning back fist before that. Nick Maximov, also very talented over there out of Chico, California, training with the Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz Academy over there. I know it says Nick Diaz, but he gets a lot of work in with the guys over there out of the NDA, Nate Diaz Academy in Lodi. This is going to be a real good fight, man. I really think this is going to be a highly contested one. Nick looked really good in his last contest over there at Fury. He's had a couple of bumps in the road in terms of his UFC career, but those have really been the only bumps in the road that we've seen out of Mr. Maximov. Only 2 losses in his MMA career have come at the UFC level. So going to be very interested to see how this one plays out over there on Friday night. Ignacio Torres versus Shane Torres. That is actually not the co-main event. Co-main event over there is going to be Hector Fajardo versus Cesar Hernandez Aruz. Very good friend of the program is Hector Fajardo. So very excited to get to see him hop back into the cage. And that one, Vakhtang Chiridze versus Oyamon Osayamon Oya Holland. Man, I'm really going to need to get with my guy Garrett Furtick on Friday and kind of get with him about that name, man, because I got my guy Vakhtang Chiridze. Had to go ahead and practice that one a lot in the lead up to this one, but in the lead up to his last fight against Star Charles. My apologies. And also in the lead up to this one, can't mess up if there is a possibility that I do speak to Vakhtang after over there on Friday. But he was able to get that win over Star Charles via a guillotine choke. Osaemon has been training over there with Anthony Hernandez, with Max Griffin, with the whole MMA Gold team. So I wouldn't doubt if we see him go out there and have a very strong performance and look very like just kind of a new fighter, because I mean he has really just been working on himself in a whole different aspect. So very excited for this feature bout of the evening. Ignacio Ortiz and Shane Torres, another 2 gentlemen that, I mean, their records may not show it, but these gentlemen got some freaking heat in their hands and they're going to go at it in the cage. So I do not see this one going past going into the decision. I mean, and if it is, it's going to be a whole lot of blood all over that A1 Combat canvas. So really excited to see this one go at it. Ignacio Ortiz and Shane Torres over there. I believe that is the co-feature bout night. Pedro Juarez versus Chris Fernandez will be the third pro fight of the evening, I believe, on the pro card. And then I have Tyson Kuhine making his professional MMA debut against Benny Orozco. Benny Orozco, 3-1 in his MMA career, has defeated the A1 Combat champion Murali Husinov over there at lightweight. So be interesting to get to see him take on a guy in Tyson Kuhine that has a lot of hype over here in the Northern California area. And this overall, I mean, this amateur card as well, you got freaking Majali Gay over there taking on Miles Robinson for the welterweight championship, and Ryan Fudunau and Ian Russell going at it for the light heavyweight belt for A1 Combat. That's amateur pool. You really got to give it to Aaron Rand. He's just done such a amazing job in terms of keeping it all together and just really building some great fights over there. You got Scrap Pack versus you got San Francisco versus Los Angeles area, and Majali Gay, kind of a kickboxing star over there in the Southern California area. Ryan Fudunau versus Ian Russell. Ian Russell originally from Fresno, California, going over there to American Kickboxing Academy, a very former known connection for all the MMA OGs out there in the world, knowing of the original, not the original, obviously the original AK over there in San Jose, but the original kind of dethroned location was an American Kickboxing Academy way back when over there in Fresno, California. So very, very interesting to see Ian Russell now making that move over there to San Jose and training with those guys. But Ryan Frutinaro in front of him, man, one of the best light heavyweights that we have seen in the state of California, probably the number 1-2 prospect behind Mr. Shaler Ladd when they were both in their time in the light heavyweight. If not him, it was a race between him, Kyle Clark, Ryan Frutinaro. So really, really excited to see this light heavyweight contest go at it. Two of the top light heavyweights in the state of California, number 8 and number 3, according to Tapology. So you know that these guys are going to be going at it. Really, really excited for this whole entire card. Really, really excited to get to see these guys go at it. I mean, Ethan Richardson as well, looking to possibly climb to 3-0, only 18 years of age in his MMA career, taking on another big prospect over there. And this time out of American Kickboxing Academy. Last time he fought a guy over there out of Black House MMA, a gym that has seen multiple guys go to that UFC level and go to really high levels of their pro scene. So big win for the Ethalizer. Obviously getting to train with a lot of guys over there out of Team Alpha Male. So very, very, very big card coming up over there. And then can't forget about my guy Joshua Rinker, man. He's got a crazy vertical. Make sure if you guys are into the dunking scene, man, go ahead and check out Joshua Rinker, man. He's got some crazy things on his Instagram profile. Man has got a vertical like no other. Excited to see some of these matchups go underway. Another one of these matchups I'm excited to see. Talon Barzaltve versus Jacob Maritza. Jacob Maritza had a very, stand him up, bang a matchup against Farzad Ahmadi last time out. And then Talon Barzaltve making his A1 Combat debut has had a lot of hype around him. So very, very excited to see it all go down over there. But we will go ahead and crack it down into the interview section of our show today. I really, really appreciate you all hearing me talk a little bit about not only UFC 309 and kind of my whole my thing with the whole card, but also letting me speak a little bit of my mind in terms of the A1 Combat 25 card that is coming up here on Friday, November 15th. But without further ado, let's go ahead and drop you into the first interview here today. We're going to go back to back. So it's going to be back-to-back interviews today. First off with my guy, Blake, the Nature Boy Perry over there out of Fairfield, California. Go ahead and take it away from me, Blake. Michael Hernandez here, MLH Media, Uncensored, episode 6. And I'm here today with one of the original guests of the program, man, Blake Perry over there, 707 stand-up, but originally from Ohio. How you doing today, my brother? I know it's always a pleasure to get to speak to you, but now you got a big one coming up over here at Cage Warriors as well.
Hey, man, the feeling's mutual. I appreciate you having me. I'm stoked to be here, and I'm just ready to get back in there, bro.
It's actually it's crazy, man. I have my phone wallpaper, and I have it set as a bunch of fighters that kind of just cycle out throughout time, man. And funny enough, you actually are one of the kind of guys I have on there, and it's because you're one of the original guys of the program, man. I always got to show love. So it's just crazy to see this kind of journey and how you've been in a lot of your teammates' corners and kind of just been waiting for the opportunity, man. Can you kind of fill fans in on what you've been up to? I know we've been talking and we've kind of been discussing, been kind of planning this thing out, but what have you been up to in the meantime, my man?
Yeah, bro. It's been a good year, to be honest. You know, obviously it wasn't the best of circumstances to, be put in originally. However, that's life. You know, it's a crazy ass sport we do. It's bound to happen to everybody at some point or another where they hit a little hiccup, a little bump in the road, whatever you want to call it. But no, man, it's been good. It was a really good opportunity for me to mentally really, really lock in, especially that first 6 months when obviously I'm not sparring and getting hit in the face, you know what I'm saying, like post-surgery. So that was really, really a good chance to break down little nuanced details in my fight game and genuinely lock in. Everyone trains hard. If you're a pro fighter, you train hard and you get after it, right? That's not unique to me. Everyone that fights does that, but it's the little details and kind of setting your ego aside and working on things that you're not good at and going with partners that exploit certain areas of your game and putting yourself in bad situations or, tough situations that aren't the most comfortable, but working through them and truly improving. And I feel like I'm a different fighter than I was a year ago. And I actually mean that. And I'm excited to show that in December. And I'm pumped to get back in there, bro.
Had surgery on the nose, I believe, right?
Yeah, so actually it was so do need surgery on my nose in the future, but that's
That'll be
good.
handled another time.
You aren't wrong at all. You are correct. However, that's going to be a post fighting, like, because nose is one of those things that it breaks so frequently that going through a whole big rhinoplasty, this big reconstructive surgery just to keep fighting, it's kind of silly because it's a crazy game, and let's just be honest, there's a good chance it's going to break again. So instead of going through some big surgery for my nose, having a 8-month recovery and then it breaking again, doctors have just recommended that as long as I'm fighting, to just put off the nose surgery until I'm done. But what I did have surgery on was I call it my cheekbone right over here. I think it's called a zygomatic arch for the medical community.
For the medical community out there that's watching.
Right. Because I totally knew what that was before I had to have surgery on it. No, but yeah, basically my cheekbone, I had to get that repaired because it was not doing so hot about a year ago. But we're back in it now, man. I took the necessary precautions, was smart with it. Even though it's tough as a fighter and just as a guy in general, I feel like to be smart with injuries sometimes, the classic dude thing of like, oh, fuck it, I'll be all right.
I'm just going to tough it out. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how it goes, man. So, no, I had to just, really, really, really lock in, not do anything dumb in terms of, obviously I'm smart with my training and everything with it that first 6 months, but not dumb as in like, I don't want to hop on fight offers too quick. Like there was a few offers that came in right about the 6-month mark, and I didn't even want to hear an opponent name. I heard a promotion would hit me up or whatever, and I'm like, I'm good, man. The doctor said it's going to be a 12-month recovery. I'm taking all 12 months because I know that when I do sign for a fight, I'm full bore. I'm going in there to win the fight. I'm focused on my game plan. I don't want to be thinking about my fucking face. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's the last thing you want to worry about there.
Exactly, exactly, right? And the last thing I want to worry about is that, right? So, no, I took the necessary time. Like I said, went about 6 months, no sparring. I've been hard sparring the past 6 months. So I'm back to where I was pre-injury, and I'm stoked, feeling sharp, excited, and just fucking happy, man. I'm in a very grateful and happy spot, more than I have been at other points in my life, to be honest. So I'm in a very good mental space right now, feeling good, and I'm just genuinely happy to do what I fucking love and get back in there, man.
No, 100%. And it feels like how you said, like, obviously known each other for quite some time, but it does feel like a kind of new energy is sparking inside the Nature Boy at this moment. But can you kind of go into, I mean, you were speaking about it a little bit, but having to put that ego aside and just like really kind of look at yourself and be like, all right, maybe I do need to kind of take some time away. And I mean, you had that fight scheduled with Anthony Orozco, things kind of falling out. Was that kind of one of those reasons, was you looked at yourself and were like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should take a little bit of time, go ahead and heal? Because in your pro career, man, I know it's been short, but you've had some pretty already high profile fights. I mean, you gotten on the New York Post with one of them. You've gotten on Bellator, gotten tons of views over there. So it's not like no one's knowing when you're going to be fighting, So it definitely, you want the eyeballs to be pointing in the right direction. Would I be wrong in saying that?
No, you nailed it, man. And yeah, in terms of that last fight, honestly, that was the reason. It was me, man, because it happened. I had that fight signed with Anthony, and I was training for it, and I like catastrophically broke my cheekbone, like, and needed immediate surgery. So I mean, that 100% was me. I'm not even gonna act like it was like a mutual fallout, or I mean, I was like, hey, man, my face
is hurting.
my skull's broken. I'm not going to be fighting in a month. My skull is shattered right now. So I'll catch y'all in a year, bro. But no, so that's exactly the reason that fight fell through, was I needed immediate surgery. Is what it is, bro. But that fight was not happening at that point. But yeah, like you said, man, just putting the ego aside and training smart for that. Not that I'm still not training smart, but you know what I'm saying. Extra smart that first 6 months, being really, really locking into things. That's a great thing about a facial injury, is you can still train as hard as you want just without the sparring aspects. But in terms of like, you can do literally everything else. It's personally, I think that's even better than if I had like a really bad shoulder or knee injury. That's really going to be more limited in terms of how you can train as opposed to a facial thing because, outside of sparring, everything else you can do, man. You can stay in great shape. You can lock in. You can footwork, bag work, pad work, even like some grappling if you're smart, you know what I mean? So like it really wasn't as limiting as you would think for as serious of an injury as it was in my time away from the cage, so I was able to train a lot, really.
Yeah, it feels like you didn't really like. I know you said like you've had this kind of time away, but like how we've been saying, I've been seeing you constantly kind of in the corner for your teammates. Have been there, you've been able to kind of be there for Terrence on his rise, being A1 Combat Flyweight Champion now, and then Houston
Sure.
Skibeck just over there recently getting a win. Like it just, I mean, he's kind of been on a tear as of late. Had a little bit of a tough performance at LFA, but I mean, recently now a father, so it's like I feel like the whole Train for Life team is just like earning wins, like, and it feels like, does it feel like almost poetic for this fight to come about in the way it is? Like how you saying, you're feeling a lot more mentally refreshed. Does it feel like almost it's just the perfect time to get back in the cage? It's Christmas time, like everyone's gonna be jolly out there in San Diego. Does it kind of feel like a culmination of everything, just good vibes and good kind of emotions?
Yeah, dude, it does, man, because it's like, that really is the vibe over here. Like you were saying, it Train for Life, nobody MMA, whatever. It's like, even though I've been away from the cage, I still live this, man. Like I don't have a real job. This is what I do from the moment I wake up to when I go to sleep. I'm in the gym. Whether it's training for myself a few times a day, coaching classes, working the front desk, cleaning the mats, whatever it is, man. I really do like live here. This is what we do. Same with Terrence. Same with a lot of the other guys. And we're a family, bro. So even though I was away from the cage for a year, I was still. I feel like I've seen you 15 times, man.
Dude, I was like, this is like a family reunion, and I see this guy now.
Right? Because I'm away from competing for a year, but I wasn't away from training, wasn't away from cornering, going to different tournaments, coaching kids, professional fighters down to Terrence, Houston, my boy Ramil, Amini, you name it, man. I was in it, so I definitely was not away from the sport and the world in general. It's just what I do, even down to, I mean, shit, man. When I retire down the road, I don't think I'll be able to just leave it. You know what I mean? It's like ingrained in me at this point that even when I'm done fighting, I'm not done in the MMA world. I want to be this dude until I'm old as shit. So and have even less hair. No, but so no, yeah, no, you're right, man. In terms of staying active, just in the sport in general for my team and my family, man. It's like I said, it's what we do, man. I mean, shit. I'm doing a podcast right now from the gym just because I got time between, and the gym's empty, and figured why not, man. This is the place to do it,
Yeah, if there's any place, you got to go ahead and do it over there, right in the 707, right in Fairfield,
Yes,
right in
sir.
the heart of where it's all going down. But I was gonna say about that old comment, man. I think if anything, you may be having a old long white beard before we've seen any no hair off of Blake the Nature Boy Perry. I just can't imagine it, man.
I'm only gonna fight in December so I can rock the Santa beard.
Oh my gosh. Hey, well, speaking about that December card, speaking a little bit about Cage Warriors 182 over there in San Diego, California, a kind of a little bit of a familiar territory to you in a sense. You've seen that Cage Warriors cage once or twice before, and even in terms of coaching some of your teammates over there. So how does it feel to not only get to kind of make that return, but you're getting to fight a guy that is actually his home area is San Diego, Bobby Winter. I mean, he's from over there. Like, he is based in San Diego, heart of it. How does it feel to get to go up against him? I mean, I would say this is like a very, very fun comp. 2-1 pro Bobby Winter, and then, I mean, obviously 2-1 yourself. But I feel like that one loss, man, it's a lot of asterisks around that. You know what I'm saying? So definitely a pretty exciting one going into December, man.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm super stoked. Not only because I'm feeling great, and like I said, I was talking about that mental headspace about how I'm just happy and loving what I'm doing, loving the grind, loving the multiple sessions a day. You know, it's just what I do. I love it, man. But outside of that, man, it's a fun matchup. You know, I respect Bobby, and I usually say that about everyone I fight, but I mean it. You know, I don't take fights that I wouldn't take a fight with someone that I don't respect. You know, like someone that's like, oh, this dude sucks. This dude's an easy fight. But I wouldn't be in that position in general. You know, because that's not, you know, in order to be that motherfucker, you got to beat that motherfuckers of that area. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
and that dude, man, he's a beast. You know, he's a very talented fighter, very well rounded, super tough, gritty dude. He brings the fight. He's fun to watch fight. You know, I've seen some of his fights, and he puts on bangers. You know, and luckily enough, so do I. You know, so two bangers together. That's gonna be a good one, man. I can't wait to go out there and showcase my skills, as I'm sure he is. You know, excited to do the same. So I can't wait, man. It's a good opponent, good promotion, good matchup, good location, good time of the year. It's going to be just a good fucking event, and I can't wait to do it for not only me, but the fans in general. And I'm excited to make some noise in that Cage Warriors cage December 13th, boy. I can't wait.
No, it definitely does seem like it's overall like, I mean, a really fun card. You got Roberto Hernandez, Jacob Rosales on that one. You have another kind of guy that also has been known to be in that A1 combat cage. You've kind of made that cage super popular with your obvious viral moment in there, but Eric Cortez also going to be making his way down from the 916 over there into the 619. I always found that funny. Sacramento and San Diego got those reverse area codes. But and
no, bro. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking about San Diego, I believe you were formerly stationed over there, right? You had a little bit of experience over there in San Diego, or would I be wrong in that?
I was never actually. I was stationed out here in Fairfield, but I did go. I have been through San Diego a lot, so valid assumption. But I actually personally was never stationed there, but I was in Hawaii, and then here at Travis Air Force Base at Fairfield were my only stations. But no, I'm familiar with the San Diego area, so that's not a bad assumption.
Yeah, no, I do remember. Well, I mean, this past Monday, man, was celebrating you and celebrating a bunch of our great veterans kind of service. How did that feel to kind of be able to relax a little bit, you know? And not only that, I know you say you don't get a job, man, but you know, you did serve this country for quite some time. Got to shout out my guy Tyler's mom's basement over there as well for his service as well. But hey, man, how does it feel, you know, veteran kind of going into the cage as well? Because I feel like you guys always get like a ton of love, especially over there, like how I said, San Diego area, huge military populace, you know?
Yes. So, yeah, that's cool, man. It'll be my first fight as a veteran and not an active duty member, so that's kind of cool because I've gotten out since my last Cage Warriors appearance.
Wow, yeah,
dude, got allowed to have a beard now, tattoos, and I can go be high and shit. So it's cool, man. You got to find the pros, you know, the good things in life. But speaking of, dude, so is Bobby. He's if I'm not mistaken, I think he's currently a Navy SEAL. If he's I think he's. I know for a fact he's a Navy SEAL. I think he's still active duty, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me, but so between the two of us, man, we should have a nice little some military support out there.
Some red, white, and blue will be streaming through Cage Warriors.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So that's kind of cool, man. It'll be a little military on military crime. So that'll be a good one, bro. But yeah, so it'll be cool for me, as I'm sure it's cool for him. No, for sure.
Bringing America to the British promotion over there for Cage Warriors in San Diego,
right,
my man.
Right?
But
exactly, right?
hey, I know
Europeans, man, we gotta hold it down, bro.
You guys got to show love, man. You got to show out while you guys are over there. But speaking a little bit about your roots, based over there out of Ohio, it's a pretty big guy out of Ohio that's fighting actually coming up on this Friday. Jake Paul is going to be fighting over there against Mike Tyson. What are your kind of thoughts about another one of your guy from your home state being in there? And I mean, he's kind of making history in his own right. I know a lot of people like to clown on him, but Netflix deal, selling out AT&T Stadium, like, I mean, that's got to be a pretty big deal, especially for a kid like you, the nature boy, growing up over there in Ohio, seeing another one of your Ohioans kind of going out there. What are your thoughts about that whole kind of fiasco?
First off, shout out to Ashtabula County, the 440, man. And Jefferson, that's the town I'm from. So I loved it, man. It was cool growing up out there. Just little little backwoods town out there in Jefferson. But no, man, it's Jake Paul gets a lot of hate, but he's doing the damn thing, bro. You know what I mean? So no hate from me. I think I mean, shit, he's out there knocking out legends and stuff, doing this thing, getting rich as fuck. Who can hate on him? I shouldn't say who can. A lot of people hate on him, but at the end of the day, it's really all it's done is just fuel his success. You know what I mean? Because had he been super likable, I don't think he would be half as big as he is. You know what I mean? Like, it's the reason 90% of people tune in is because they're like, oh man, I want to see Mike Tyson knock him out. I want to see Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, you name it, whoever he's fought, right? They're like, I want to see him knock Jake Paul out, you know? But hey man, that's his lane, that's his market, and he's working the fuck out of it. And he has 800 times the money I've ever made in a fight. So hey man, actually, that's probably not even true. It's probably more than that. I'm sure it is. Now that I said that, it's like probably like 8.
Now you're doing the math, and you're like, this
yeah,
guy's...
right. I did that, and I'm like, no, he makes more than that. But no, so that's shit, man. Good for him. And in terms of the fight itself, oh man, because it's like I have like two different brains going on. I got one that's like, you know, the science brain that's like, all right, Jake Paul's, I think, still in his 20s, you know, Jake Paul, and then Mike Tyson's pushing fucking 60. That's a rough matchup, you know.
Yeah.
He's a powerful dude. It's not like Jake Paul doesn't have fucking dynamite in his hands either, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, but the other
He's been
half,
training with some of the best in the world too. Like I hate that people like, it's like, as much as you guys want to hate on, like, as much as people want to hate on Jake Paul, as much, like, I don't like the guy. Like, trust me, like, I'm not the biggest fan of him as a person or the way he markets, but you, like how you said, he's got dynamite in the hands. He's shown that. And I mean, he's kind of on the same range right now. Like, I know he's had these really large fights, but like how you would have like a pro boxer that's barely coming into, you know, or maybe like an Ami that's really, really strong in his career. Like, that's kind of at the same level that I would argue Jake Paul is at right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, especially 100%. Facing the competition he's faced in the boxing ring. So it's like how you said, it's like, as much as people want to hate on him, it's, you know, for the progress he's made in the years he's had, it's actually like, it's, you know, I won't hate on the guy, but it's definitely a questionable matchup for sure.
Yeah, bro. Then the other half of me is like, I don't know, bro. I've been seeing clips of Mike Tyson on the pads and sparring.
Cordero, and it's convincing, right?
Bro, he still got it, dude. I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to fucking box Mike Tyson. So I'm like, I don't know, man. That's it. I could see either way, man. I could see Mike Tyson getting inside and just hitting that fucking off switch. Or, you know, I could also see Jake Paul ruining the night for like 3/4 of the world by knocking out Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? So it's like, either way, bro, it'll be interesting. I'm interested. I'll tune in for sure. Yeah, bro. I don't personally. I don't really. I guess I don't want to say I don't understand the hate, because like, yeah, he's a douche. I get it. But like, when people take away from his accomplishments, that's the part I don't like. Like, yes, if you're like, oh, this dude's a mega tool.
So yeah, you got a point there. Like, you know, hey, you got a point.
Right. Yeah, I'm never gonna argue that. Like, yeah, I'm sure he is, right? But like, I don't like when people are like, he's a mega tool, therefore all these things he's done are irrelevant and don't matter. It's like, bro, you know how many amazing fighters are mega tools? You probably just don't know it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he's at least outward with it, you know? And you can't take away from those accomplishments because, all right, I didn't have an amateur boxing career, for example, right? I've never had like a sanctioned boxing fight. If I did the exact same thing he did and knocked out all these people, would be like, you're the fucking man. Holy shit, this is awesome, right? People wouldn't be like, oh, this fucking loser. Like, they're just saying it because he's not likable as a person, right? But that side, you can't take away from what the dude's done, man. It's, I don't know. I don't hate on him. That's all I'm saying. Ohio natives aside, I can't hate on him, bro.
Ohio natives got to stick together, but I'm pretty sure, you know, there's going to be a lot of people from not only Ohio, but all over kind of the United States, for sure all over Britain, that are going to be kind of watching Cage Warriors 182 going down over there, Sichuan Resort over there in San Diego. Bobby Winter versus Mr. Blake Perry, the Ghost versus the Nature Boy, man. What are you thinking about that matchup? That's a matchup of nicknames if I ever heard one, man. Last question before we go into the kind of final closing segments, but I seen that nickname matchup on paper and I was like, dude, the Ghost versus Nature Boy, they could sell this on its own.
Dude, that right there, man. That is a good that's a good selling point right there, man. I guess it depends on the atmosphere, you know. If it's in the woods, the Nature Boy's got it all day. I don't know though. In a graveyard, it might be a different story with a ghost, you know. So it just depends. I guess depends where it goes. But also too, now that I'm thinking about it, we also both have nicknames that other kind of high profile people have. You know, obviously Ric Flair is the OG Nature Boy, right? I'm paying homage with that nickname, you know, and I understand that, bro. You know, he's the man. But speaking of Ohio boys, Kelly Pavlik was like my favorite boxer growing up. Tall, skinny white boy, shaved head, right? But he was a good ass boxer from Youngstown, Ohio. He was the Ghost growing up. So yeah, no, that's cool, man. Nature Boy versus the Ghost. Yeah, I'm curious where he got his name from. Probably he's got a pretty cool story too. But anyway.
Man, they have some roots with that Navy SEAL background that you were kind of talking about, right?
I kind of was assuming that, but yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm curious. Yeah, that's cool.
Anybody that you want to thank before going into this one? I know you guys over there at Nobody MMA always get a lot of love and support from the community over there in Fairfield or in the 707, but just in general, you guys get love from kind of all over. Anybody that you want to thank in particular for this matchup going into December 13th?
Yeah, bro. So we got to shout out the Nobody MMA crew. First of all, you know, I love those guys like my brothers. And I really, really genuinely from the bottom of my heart consider them family, you know. We're the fucking average Joes of the world taking on the Globo gyms, you know. Out here doing the damn thing, bro. So, yeah, shout out to everyone here. Coach Sonny, Coach Madali, Coach Devo, Coach Joey, Coach Darius. And then obviously the fight team. They know who they are, you know. Terrence, Houston, Amini, Drew, Ramil, Kanoa, you know, shout out to all those guys. And outside of that, you know, I'm thankful for you. First off, man, not only as a friend, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show too, man. It's been good seeing you a lot this past year, man. I was like kind of hanging out, bro. So, it's been a good talk with you right now and a good talk as always, man. So I'm thankful for you taking time out of your day to have me on, help me promote a little bit. Who else? Yeah, man, that's all I got, man. Thankful for everybody. Thankful to be here. Ready to do my thing in December.
Always a pleasure, my man. Always a pleasure to have you on the program, as I always say. And it's just like how I said, crazy that we met each other all that time ago, way back when at Tachi Palace. Now, fast forward to November 2024. You got a matchup coming up in a month, man. Absolutely crazy world that we live in here. Actually, almost a month out directly from the day. But we'll be seeing each other, I believe, in another month as well. We got Meanie going over there to 559 fights and also taking a fight over there. So I think I'll be seeing you pretty soon.
I will be in that corner also.
Hey, my man. Well, always a great pleasure to get to speak with you. Blake Perry, the Nature Boy over there, the 707. Michael Hernandez, MLH Media over here out of the 805 currently, going to be signing out MLH Media Uncensored Episode 6. Michael Hernandez here, MLH Media Uncensored Episode 7 here with Steven Sainsbury. Steven Savage Sainsbury, I mean, you've been on a killer streak over here in the state of California and now residing over here a little bit in San Luis Obispo before you head over there to Los Angeles for BKFC. Going back to Thunder Studios once again, man. You have a pretty good record over there.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Looking to go 3-0. We'll see, but yeah, I like Thunder Studios a lot. I'm very comfortable there, so that'll definitely be an advantage this fight.
What was kind of the process behind getting the call for this fight? And just really, I mean, because BKFC Los Angeles, this event, you know, it's been in the plans for a while, but getting guys on the card has kind of seemed to be a little bit of a issue for them. And just, you know, overall kind of making these local cards happen. So can you really just go into detail about your opponent and just overall how everything came together? Because it seemed to come together a little quickly, and then yeah, just bam, right away you guys were over there on November 23rd.
It did. So I mean, BKFC first and foremost has been great to deal with. everything about them has been class and professional. My opponent, Paulo Games, total OG Brazilian out of Nuvio
This is
União.
like almost 30 pro fights, right?
Yeah, almost 30 pro fights. Not the best record. He's kind of a jiu-jitsu guy, but it'll be his BKFC debut as well. So he'll have a lot more experience than me, but I obviously can make that up with a lot of other skills I have. So I'm very confident going into this matchup. I have a ton of respect for my opponent. Like I said, anything can happen. You got no gloves on. It doesn't take much. So I'm looking forward to a good battle and testing myself.
Yeah, and show those hands off a little bit, man. You're already kind of going at the bags a little bit, man.
I mean, that's been my style. I've always trained like that to have hard knuckles. So I felt like when I got the call from BKFC, it was meant to be. The timing with fighting in MMA just happened to work out that I was going to have a little bit of a gap, and so I figured to add to my resume. And get in there, get in the squared circle, as they say.
When we spoke last, you had kind of mentioned that you said you really wanted to kind of amp up that activity, especially with you grabbing that contract over there from Lights Out, the developmental kind of deal. You really just wanted to continue this activity, and now we're seeing you with BKFC Los Angeles. Is there a possibility that we can kind of see this continue to be a trend, or are you going to kind of test the waters here and really just kind of see how much you like the bare knuckle fighting and really testing it out in the arena, man? Because it's going to be the same arena you're usually in, but definitely a whole lot different stakes this time.
Bigger stakes.
Bigger stakes.
You got to risk it, man. You got to risk it to get what you want, and I'm willing to do that. It doesn't matter what stage. I believe in myself. I know everybody in this game is tough, especially if you're going to do BKFC. You obviously think you're tough, and I'm not saying necessarily that about myself, but I like to test myself, and you watch those fights. They're brutal. They're tough, brutal fights, and I need one of those. Yeah. I need one of those for me personally, not even for my career. I need to test myself there and see how I do.
Yeah, from your last fight a couple of months back, it definitely seemed like a little bit more toughness was tested in this one. But can you kind of go into that fight? And then I know we got to speak a little bit before, but the after. And then, I mean, kind of leading into you getting that call from BKFC. But can you kind of just go into how it was after getting to hang out in Los Angeles a little bit, enjoy the win, but then also having to go back home, get some training in, anything new in the kind of meantime in the kind of middle between this BKFC call and then that Lights Out win?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking to stay active. I had a fight kind of fall through. That would have been 5 weeks after the September 6th bout. Didn't end up happening, and from that point, I needed to make a decision to fight by the end of the year. And like I said, this opportunity got put on the table, and it was in my contract that I'm allowed to do it, and I jumped on it. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to be tested, but I think I'm going to do really well.
Yeah. We're sitting here only a couple of days away from UFC 309 over there in New York, and then you guys got the card over there in Los Angeles. How does it kind of feel it feels like Los Angeles is now becoming almost like a mecca in terms of mixed martial arts. You have them returning back in January for MMA. The UFC obviously going to be bringing back Arman Sarukian and Islam Makhachev. Didn't know if you knew about that. Yeah. But what do you kind of feel about overall being able to fight in this area of Los Angeles and kind of be one of those guys that's starting to kind of garner a little bit of a fan base over here, even though you don't really reside over here for most of your time? I mean, you spend time in San Luis Obispo. That's a hell of a way from Los Angeles for people that don't know California.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you kind of go into that? Because you definitely bring a big crowd, too, when you're over there at Thunder Studios. I mean, anybody that watches those broadcasts can hear when you go in the cage, people are coming in mounds, it feels like.
Well, yeah, I have a great fan base from here, like where I'm from, San Luis Obispo. I have a great support system, a ton of people who want to see me succeed, and who know what I put into this. So, for them, they're all my friends. All those people who are coming are like my friends and family. They're people who we just care about each other. So
they're making the drive.
It's not just like fan base. Like I have obviously I get fans every fight, and I take pride in that in my fight style. I want them to see the way I fight and become fans, because I say this all the time. It's kill or be killed when I fight every time. And I'll take my loss like a fucking man. Excuse my language, but that's just how it is. If I get put
uncensored,
down,
man. It's all the full.
If I get put down, I'll be the first person to pat that man on the back. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm excited. I do have a lot of great fans. Yeah. They bring me a lot of lot of just to keep me calm before those fights.
No,
all my boys, we all stay at the same hotel. All of us, like 30 or 40 of us.
Oh wow! Man.
So we
Long
always
Beach
like
is crazy then.
yeah. So we all get the same spot on the same floor. The hotel lets us do what we want because we've done it now a bunch, multiple times in a row this year, and they're stoked. Their shit gets sold out. And then obviously after the fight, because we've been getting wins, we obviously get to party pretty hard and have a good time and enjoy our wins, and then get right back to work.
No, that's I mean probably the picture perfect life of that any MMA fighter would want, especially after their wins, and for your family and friends to be making the drives kind of from various different areas across the 805, and just I mean you still have training partners over there in Colorado that also watch from miles away over there on Lights Out's app. How does that kind of feel to be able to garner support from kind of just all over? I mean, you've trained in Mexico, you've trained in Colorado, you've kind of gone all over, man.
I do have a lot. Like I said, I have a really good support system. Like I owe it to all the people I've met and trained with and have taught me things, and a lot of like-minded people. Yeah. And a lot of like-minded people tend to gather together, and they're just all behind me right now. Until I lose, we'll see. Maybe I'll lose, and then everyone will disappear. You never know. But no, I'm just joking. Like I said, they're all my family and friends. So.
I highly doubt that you'll be losing any supporters, especially after any performance that you put up, especially in a ring with freaking no gloves on. Like, I mean,
it's a win, dude.
It's a win either way in terms
of. First person from the big part of this was no one from San Luis Obispo has ever, in the history of San Luis, has ever professionally bare knuckle boxed. Huh? I mean, it just became legal. I mean, I'm sure everyone fights. Sure, you bare knuckle box. I'm talking sanctioned, like legal, professional bare knuckle boxing. Nobody's done that. That's going to be a feather I'm going to be able to put in the hat that, I'll be able to say that. Not like I'm going to be saying that, but that's just the facts. That'll be what's what.
That's funny enough that you had mentioned that. I was kind of going to go into that, San Luis Obispo, for a lot of people I don't know, we're down the street from what is like one of the kind of sanctioning factors or one of the, kind of bigger MMA gyms in the area. How does it feel to be like, not only like how you said, being able to put a little bit of a feather in the cap, but you've been in this area for quite some time. You've seen kind of the MMA guys go round and round, You've seen guys come through the city and train and go in different areas. How is it now to kind of still be coming back over here, coming back home, and then now just getting a fight over there in the big LA, man? It must be a pretty special feeling for you to be able to tote that, but also be able to bring some of those 805 roots as well.
Yeah, it's everything. I take so much pride being from San Luis Obispo. It's when you're young, it's something you maybe don't realize, but the older you get, it's just you take more pride in where you're from. And San Luis Obispo is a beautiful place. Like I said, all my family and friends, support systems here, and I feel all those people when I go into the cage, and those are the people I'm scrapping for.
I think a lot of those, legends that have came from the San Luis Obispo area. You have Chuck Liddell coming from way back in the day. You have Jake Shields. You have Tim Kennedy. I think they'd be pretty hyped up that they got a guy that is coming from the San Luis Obispo area that is deciding to go ahead and get in that bare-knuckled circle. How has it been kind of, being able to, I know you said you prepared for this. You kind of train a little bit of bare-knuckle in preparation for a lot of these fights, but when you were preparing for lights out fighting.
Yeah.
But how is it now to actually know when I get in that ring, they're only checking the wrapping, that's got to be a different type of feeling. Or what's the type of preparation that really goes from an MMA mindset into going to the bare knuckle boxing scene? Because I feel like that just I can't dramatize the switch enough, because I feel like it's just such a different type of sensation.
It is for sure. The feeling for this fight's different. The preparation's been different. I don't know how I would describe it. Let's see, mentality-wise. Let's just say, put it this way, I'm not going to be cute this fight. I'm not going to do anything sweet or anything like that and try and look good. This is, don't fuck around, get in there, put this fucking guy down like you were on the street and you were alone in an alley. And if you lose, you're getting your fucking head stomped out. That's the mentality I'm bringing, and that's it. That's how you have to be in the sport. The guys who win in BKFC, the guys who are aggressive. And they're smart. They're not overly just wailing with those stupid haymakers. They're precise, and they're hitting their shots. They're not hitting too hard, but they're being precise with their timing and aggressive. And that's going to be the style I'm going to need to bring to win.
Yeah, and I feel like your style is kind of almost perfect for it because you got the lengthy kind of size, and then on top of that, you're really gonna have that length over your opponent, I believe, because he's kind of a guy that's bounced around a lot of weight classes. Was that something you seen on the cards? When you're doing a little bit of research, you kind of start grinning a little bit. You started doing that evil grin because you're gonna be able to test out a little bit more some of the striking than you've ever got to really in the cage.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll still have a reach advantage, and but this guy, he's a vet, dude. I have so much respect for this guy. Like he's very popular. You look him up on Instagram. He's got a lot of followers. He's friends with a lot of high-profile people in the game, and so I'm honored to be able to fight him, honestly. And the truth is, by beating this guy, I take all that, all that experience you have, all that stuff. This is a new sport, but that obviously for him will translate into it. And by beating him, it shows where I'm at, even with I don't have an extensive MMA record. I've trained with really good people most of my life, so I know where I'm at. But as far as actually fighting, I just turned professional 6 months ago. So big difference there. 17 years professional to 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious what the odds makers are going to put this fight at.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
No, and
I should be an underdog, hypothetically, pretty big. I'm hoping so.
I was gonna say, you're in the state of California too, man. So people there can't even live bet. Like that, isn't that a crazy thing? Like, because you're over there in Colorado, right? So I think it's legal over there.
For sure, it is legal. Yeah. Technically you can't bet here.
Yeah,
so.
technically you can. You did not hear that from us over here, but you technically can bet.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing you donning that Fight Night Customs hat, and like how we've been saying this kind of whole entire interview, you've been really building up that fan base, garnering up more and more kind of not only like companies over there in the Los Angeles area, but companies in the 805, just kind of overall just building your repertoire in terms of, your catalog of businesses that you've been working with and just companies you've been partnering with. Can you kind of go into some companies that you've been working with a little bit more exclusively in the lead up to this fight camp, and anybody that you want to shout out in particular?
Oh yeah, I got to shout out my sponsors. I have a ton of sponsors. First off, High Street Deli. Doobie, the owner of High Street, you are the man. He is a great person, great sponsorship. Not going to go into details, but I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Doobie's the man. He takes care of me.
You're getting those 420 specials?
Oh, yeah. No, I'll say it. I'm getting free sandwiches. Best thing that's ever come out of fighting for me is those freaking sandwiches from Doobie. He's the man. And then Essential Mobility in Morro Bay. My old boat captain, because I used to commercial fish for like 6 years. I was like a deck boss on a shrimp boat. And so my old boat captain out of Morro Bay, he sponsors me. So the Catherine H.
How are you feeling with, sorry to interrupt, this Red Lobster controversy, man? No more endless shrimp. Like, how are you feeling about that?
I wouldn't eat that shrimp, so it doesn't matter. I'm a connoisseur, man. I was out on the ocean pulling up those big prawn. There's no way I would eat those shrimp.
Those baby shrimp ain't doing it for you.
I look down at, no, I'm not eating those shrimp. No way. I know it's all farm shrimp. I'm not going to go into it. It's a whole thing, but it's funny. That's funny you bring that up.
The commercial fishing industries, I know a couple of people, I actually lived with a couple of guys last year that were in it, so they would talk to me all the time about it, and they tell me all the time, they're like, dude, like I go to the grocery store and I'm just disgusted at what I look like. So it's just funny. You same thing, you're looking at play at Red Lobster, you're like, you know what, maybe I'll pass on this one.
No way. I got spoiled. I was eating prawns straight off the barbecue in the ocean, on the boat.
That's as best as you could get it.
Yeah.
But continue on, man.
Essential Mobility. Man, I got so many sponsors. I gotta have a thing in front of me. There's probably 10 or 15 people, but I'll at another time call them all out. But man, I just gotta say, I do have a lot of Second Chance Boxing. That's Ryan Comerford. That's the gym I was at earlier today up in Perfumo. Super cool dude. This Canadian guy, former junior Olympian boxer, and has a really nice gym up at his property that he lets me and some other guys train at. I can just go on and on and on, but I'm kind of just blanking right now as far as all of them, because it really is that many. It's like I need to get a list in front of me and start reading everybody out. Oh yeah, Richardson Realty, Andrew Richardson, he's a local dude. He hooked me up, great guy. This construction company, just just a lot of local companies. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, and it makes a whole lot of sense because when you're coming over here into the 805 and you're kind of asking people about fighters, funny enough, I work at the movie theater over here. Speaking to a couple, they're like, "Oh, you know about MMA? Do you know a Steven by chance?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, Steven Sainsbury." Like, yeah, he's crazy Viking kind of looking dude, got the hair
That
going.
is funny.
You know, so it's funnier like how we've been stating, just building that fan base over here and kind of really going into it a little bit more. But Sainsbury, Gaines over there, November 23rd, BKFC Los Angeles. Michael Hernandez, MLH Media, Uncensored, Episode 7. We're going to be signing out over here in the 805 with my guy, 2-0 in MMA, possibly looking to be 1-0 in BKFC, Steven Sainsbury. All right, man. Appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you.
All right.